Lyra Starwind stood in the dimly lit chamber, her back pressed against the heavy wooden door. Her breaths came in short, desperate gasps as she poured every ounce of her mana into the intricate spell she had been preparing for years. The air around her crackled with energy, the faint glow of the summoning circle growing steadily brighter. Lyra knew she was running out of time. The sounds of battle echoed through the stone walls of the castle, drawing closer with each passing moment. Outside, the forces of the Dark Legion, led by the fearsome demon General Zargan, were breaking through the last line of defense. Her people were outnumbered, outmatched, and on the brink of annihilation. Desperation and determination fueled her as she chanted the ancient incantations, her voice trembling yet resolute. "Please, let this work," she whispered to herself, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She had sacrificed so much for this moment. Years of research, countless dangerous expeditions for rare ingredients, and even her own blood to complete the ritual circle. The fate of her entire kingdom rested on this final, desperate gamble. As she continued her incantation, the summoning circle began to glow with an intense, almost blinding light. Lyra shielded her eyes with one hand, her other still held outstretched over the circle. The air hummed with raw magical energy, and she could feel the presence of something powerful taking shape within the glowing runes. Suddenly, the door behind her shuddered violently. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. The enemy was at the gates. She had only moments left. She poured the last of her mana into the spell, her vision blurring as exhaustion threatened to overtake her. Just a few more seconds. With a resounding crash, the door burst open, splintering into pieces. Zargan, towering and menacing, stepped into the chamber. His dark armor glinted ominously in the light of the summoning circle, and his eyes burned with malevolent glee. "What have you done, witch?" he growled, his voice a deep, rumbling threat. Before Lyra could react, Zargan lunged forward, his sword slicing through the air. Pain exploded in her abdomen as the blade pierced her flesh. She gasped, the world tilting as she fell to her knees. Blood soaked her robes, and her vision dimmed. But she couldn't give up now. With a final, desperate cry, she completed the spell. The summoning circle erupted in a brilliant flash of light, forcing Zargan to shield his eyes. When the light faded, a figure stood in the center of the circle, a man clad in strange, unfamiliar clothing. He wore trousers and a tunic with multicolored splotches, hard boots, and a harness laden with pouches and pockets. His face was stern, his eyes sharp and alert. Zargan sneered, dismissing the newcomer with a wave of his hand. "You have failed, witch. This thing cannot possibly challenge me." But Lyra, clutching her wound, managed a weak smile. "You underestimate him, demon. He is more than you can handle." The man, realizing the gravity of the situation, swiftly assessed the scene. His eyes locked onto Zargan, and he moved with a speed and precision that caught the demon off guard. Before Zargan could react, the man drew a weapon from his side, a short staff of some kind. With a series of deafening thunderclaps, the weapon unleashed bursts of fire and light. Zargan staggered, his armor punctured by unseen forces. He roared in pain and fury, but the man did not relent. He moved closer, his weapon discharging again and again, each shot finding its mark. Within moments, Zargan fell, his body hitting the ground with a heavy thud. Lyra watched in awe and relief as the man approached her, his expression softening. He knelt beside her, quickly removing supplies from his pouches. "Stay with me," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "I'm here to help." As he applied pressure to her wound and began to treat her injuries, Lyra felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, they still had a chance. The man worked with practiced efficiency, his hands steady and sure. She managed a weak smile, her vision fading as exhaustion overtook her. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "My name is Lyra Starwind, and you are our last hope." The man nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "I'm Jason Cole," he replied, "and I won't let you down." As darkness claimed her, Lyra felt a sense of peace. The battle was far from over, but with Jason by their side, they might just stand a chance against the darkness. Lyra awoke to the sound of clashing steel and distant explosions. Her vision cleared to reveal the concerned face of Jason Cole, the warrior she had summoned. The pain in her abdomen was still there, but it was dulled by the makeshift bandages Jason had applied. She could sense his urgency and determination, a stark contrast to the hopelessness that had enveloped her moments before. "Stay still," Jason said firmly, his eyes scanning the chamber for any further threats. "You're still badly hurt, but I'll keep you safe." Lyra nodded weakly, her mind racing. She had to provide Jason with more information, help him understand the dire situation they were in. "Jason, our kingdom, Elaria, is under siege by the Dark Legion," she began, her voice strained. "Their leader, Zargan, is relentless. His forces are vast, and they use dark magic and brutal tactics." Jason's expression hardened. "I saw him. He won't be a problem anymore," he said, glancing at the fallen demon general's body. "But we need to get you somewhere safe and regroup with your people." Lyra struggled to sit up, wincing at the pain. "There's a hidden passage behind the altar," she said, pointing weakly. "It leads to the inner sanctum where my sister and our remaining forces are holding out. We must hurry." Jason nodded and carefully helped Lyra to her feet, supporting her as they made their way to the altar. He pushed aside a large stone, revealing a concealed door. They slipped through the passage, the sounds of the battle outside growing fainter as they descended into the dimly lit tunnel. As they moved deeper into the passage, Lyra began to explain more about their enemies. The Dark Legion is not just an army. It's a horde of demons, dark sorcerers, and twisted creatures. They seek to enslave or destroy everything in their path. "We've lost so many already." Jason listened intently, his mind processing the gravity of their situation. "We need to find a way to turn the tide," he said. "Do you have any remaining forces that can fight?" Lyra nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "Yes, but they are few and scattered. We need to rally them and come up with a strategy. Your arrival gives us hope, Jason. With your skills and our magic, we might have a chance." They emerged from the tunnel into a small chamber lit by flickering torches. Lyra's sister, Princess Elaria, and a group of weary soldiers looked up in surprise. Relief washed over Alaria's face as she saw her sister. "Lyra, thank the gods you're alive," Elaria exclaimed, rushing to her sister's side. "Who is this?" "This is Jason Cole," Lyra said, her voice filled with a mix of exhaustion and hope. "I summoned him to help us. He's from another world, and he has extraordinary skills." Jason nodded in greeting. "We don't have much time. Zargan is dead, but his forces are still out there. We need to rally your troops and prepare for a counterattack." Alaria's eyes widened in shock at the news of Zargan's demise, but she quickly composed herself. "You're right. We must act swiftly. Our people are ready to fight, but we need a plan." Jason glanced around the chamber, assessing the situation. "First, we need to secure this area and tend to the wounded. Then, we'll gather intelligence on the enemy's positions and devise a strategy to hit them where it hurts." Lyra felt a surge of hope at Jason's confident demeanor. Despite the overwhelming odds, he radiated a sense of calm and determination that was infectious. "We have a healer here who can help with your wounds," Elaria said, guiding Lyra to a corner where an elderly woman was tending to the injured. Jason nodded in agreement. "Good. Take the best archers and light infantry. Keep your movements swift and silent. Lyra, you'll stay here and coordinate our defenses. Make sure no stragglers slip past." Lyra wanted to protest, to join the fight directly, but she knew her injury would only slow them down. Instead, she focused on the task at hand. "Understood," she said, her tone determined. "We'll be ready." As Elaria and her group prepared to move out, Jason gathered the soldiers who would form the main assault force. He gave them a brief but rousing speech, reminding them of what they were fighting for. The soldiers' spirits lifted, their resolve strengthened by his words. With everyone in position, Jason led the main force towards the eastern gate. The moonlight cast eerie shadows across the battlefield as they moved silently through the ruins of the outer city. The once bustling streets were now a desolate wasteland, a grim reminder of what was at stake. As they approached the Dark Legion's camp, Jason signaled for his troops to halt. He studied the enemy's positions, noting the patrol patterns and weak points. With a series of hand signals, he communicated his plan to the soldiers. They nodded in understanding, their eyes filled with determination. The initial attack was swift and brutal. Jason's group charged into the camp, catching the Dark Legion off guard. The clash of steel and the cries of battle filled the air as they fought their way through the enemy ranks. Jason moved like a whirlwind, his weapon, a short staff that emitted bursts of fire, cutting down foes with precision. Meanwhile, Elaria's flanking group struck from the shadows, their arrows raining down on the unsuspecting demons. The enemy was thrown into disarray, their formation crumbling under the combined assault. Lyra watched from her vantage point, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. Despite the initial success, the battle was far from won. The Dark Legion rallied, their numbers overwhelming. Jason fought valiantly, his every move calculated and deadly. But even he could see that they were being pushed back. Just when it seemed that all might be lost, a new sound pierced the chaos, a series of thunderous booms that echoed across the battlefield. Lyra's eyes widened in shock and recognition. Jason's world had weapons unlike anything she had ever seen, and he had brought one with him. From the smoke and flames emerged a massive, armored figure. Jason, clad in a strange suit of armor, wielding a weapon that spewed fire and lead. He moved with the grace and ferocity of a lion, tearing through the enemy ranks. The soldiers of Elaria, inspired by his might, redoubled their efforts. The tide of the battle turned as Jason led a final, decisive charge. The Dark Legion, disoriented and demoralized, began to fall back. Lyra's heart swelled with pride and relief as she saw the enemy retreating. As the dawn broke over the horizon, the battlefield fell silent. The Dark Legion had been driven back, and Elaria's forces stood victorious. Jason, his armor scorched and battered, approached Lyra with a weary smile. "We did it," he said simply. Lyra nodded, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. "Yes, we did. Thank you, Jason. You've given us hope." Jason's expression softened. "This is just the beginning, Lyra. We have a lot of work ahead of us. But together, we can win this war." Lyra looked out over the battlefield, her heart filled with a newfound determination. With Jason by their side, she believed they could truly turn the tide and save Elaria from the darkness. The dawn of a new day brought a fragile peace to Elaria. Lyra stood on the battlements, overlooking the remnants of the battlefield. The Dark Legion had been driven back, but the scars of the battle were everywhere. Buildings lay in ruins, and the wounded were being tended to in makeshift infirmaries. Despite the destruction, there was a palpable sense of hope among the people. Jason's arrival had given them a fighting chance. Lyra turned to Jason, who was standing beside her, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We've bought ourselves some time, but the Dark Legion will regroup. We need more than just a temporary victory. We need allies," she said, her voice resolute. Jason nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Agreed. We need to strengthen our forces and find others who are willing to stand against the Dark Legion. Do you know of any kingdoms or groups that might join our cause?" Lyra's eyes brightened with determination. "Yes, there are several. The Forest Elves to the north, the Dwarves of the Iron Mountain, and the Free Cities to the west. They all have reasons to fear the Dark Legion, and if we can unite them, we might just have a chance." Jason considered her words. "Then we should start reaching out to them immediately. Time is of the essence." Lyra nodded. "I will send messengers to the Forest Elves and the Free Cities. As for the Dwarves, their stronghold is too well guarded for a mere messenger. I will go myself." Jason's eyes widened in concern. "You're still recovering from your wounds. It's too dangerous." Lyra smiled softly. "I'll be fine. Besides, the dwarves respect strength and courage. If we're to gain their trust, I must go in person. But I'll need your help to ensure the safety of Elaria in my absence." Jason's expression softened with understanding. "All right, I'll stay and help fortify our defenses. But take a small escort with you, just in case." Lyra agreed, and preparations began immediately. She gathered a small group of trusted soldiers, and they set out for the Iron Mountain. The journey was treacherous, with narrow paths winding through rugged terrain. But Lyra pressed on, her resolve unwavering. As they approached the dwarven stronghold, Lyra marveled at its grandeur. The entrance was carved into the mountainside, guarded by towering stone statues of ancient dwarven heroes. She took a deep breath and stepped forward, her escort following closely behind. A dwarven sentry stepped forward, his expression stern. "State your business." Lyra stood tall, meeting his gaze with unwavering determination. "I am Princess Lyra of Elaria. I seek an audience with King Durin. We have a common enemy in the Dark Legion." The sentry's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "Wait here. I will inform the king." After a tense wait, the sentry returned and gestured for them to follow. They were led through winding tunnels and grand halls, adorned with intricate carvings and glowing gemstones. Finally, they reached the throne room, where King Durin sat upon a massive stone throne. King Durin was a formidable figure, with a long, braided beard and piercing eyes. He studied Lyra intently as she approached. "Princess Lyra, what brings you to my hall?" Lyra took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "King Durin, Elaria is under siege by the Dark Legion. They are a threat not only to us but to all free peoples. We seek your aid in our fight against them." King Durin stroked his beard thoughtfully. "The Dark Legion is a menace, that much is true. But why should we risk our lives for your kingdom?" Lyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing with passion. "Because if Elaria falls, the Dark Legion will not stop. They will come for your people next. United, we stand a chance. Divided, we will all be crushed." There was a moment of silence as King Durin considered her words. Finally, he nodded. "You speak with wisdom and courage, Princess Lyra. The dwarves of the Iron Mountain will stand with Elaria. Together, we will fight this darkness." Relief washed over Lyra, and she bowed deeply. "Thank you, King Durin. Your support means more than you know." As Lyra and her escort prepared to return to Elaria, she felt a renewed sense of hope. With the dwarves as allies, they had taken a crucial step towards uniting the forces against the Dark Legion. The journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, Lyra felt that victory was within their grasp. Back in Elaria, Jason was overseeing the fortification efforts, training the soldiers, and preparing for the next inevitable clash. When Lyra returned with the dwarven warriors, the morale of the Elarian forces soared. Lyra approached Jason, her eyes shining with determination. "We have the dwarves on our side. Now we need to secure the alliance with the forest elves and the free cities. We're building something powerful, Jason. Together, we can defeat the Dark Legion." Jason smiled, a glint of hope in his eyes. "One step at a time, Lyra. We're getting stronger every day. Let's keep moving forward." As they stood side by side, gazing out over the fortified city, Lyra knew that they were ready for the challenges ahead. With Jason's leadership and the strength of their newfound allies, they were forging a path to victory. The alliance with the dwarves brought a newfound energy to Elaria. Dwarven engineers and craftsmen worked tirelessly alongside Elarian soldiers, fortifying the city's defenses and constructing new weapons. Morale was high, but Lyra knew that the true test was yet to come. The Dark Legion was relentless, and their next move was unpredictable. With the dwarves on their side, Lyra and Jason turned their attention to securing the support of the forest elves. The elves were known for their secrecy and reluctance to engage in conflicts outside their own borders. Convincing them to join the fight would not be easy. Lyra and Jason set out for the forest of Eldoria, accompanied by a small group of trusted soldiers and a dwarven representative named Grunther. The journey was long and arduous, the dense forest presenting numerous challenges. But Jason's leadership and Grunther's knowledge of the terrain helped them navigate the treacherous paths. As they approached the heart of the forest, they were met by a group of elven scouts. Their leader, a tall elf with piercing blue eyes, stepped forward. "Who enters the realm of Eldoria uninvited?" he demanded. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady and respectful. "I am Princess Lyra of Elaria. We seek an audience with Queen Arwen. We come in peace and with urgent news." The elf studied her for a moment before nodding. Follow us. But know that any treachery will be met with swift retribution. The group was led through the forest, the trees seeming to close in around them as they moved deeper into elven territory. The beauty of Eldoria was breathtaking, with its towering trees, sparkling streams, and ethereal glow. Lyra couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as they approached the elven capital. Queen Arwen's palace was a marvel of nature and magic, seamlessly blending into the forest around it. They were brought before the queen, who sat on a throne of intertwined branches and leaves. Her presence was commanding yet serene, her eyes filled with wisdom. Princess Lyra of Elaria, Queen Arwen began, her voice melodic. What brings you to Eldoria in such troubled times? Lyra took a deep breath, her determination unwavering. Queen Arwen, Elaria is under siege by the Dark Legion. They threaten not only our kingdom, but all of Avaloria. We seek your aid in our fight against them. The queen's expression remained calm, but there was a flicker of concern in her eyes. The Dark Legion is a formidable foe. Why should we risk the lives of our people for your war? Lyra stepped forward, her voice passionate. Because the Dark Legion will not stop with Elaria. They will consume everything in their path, including Eldoria. United, we can stand against them. Divided, we will fall. Queen Arwen considered her words carefully. And what proof do you have of their intentions towards Eldoria? Jason stepped forward, producing a map and several documents detailing the Dark Legion's movements and plans. These documents were recovered from a recent skirmish. They indicate the Dark Legion's desire to expand their territory, and Eldoria is clearly marked as a target. The queen examined the documents, her expression growing more serious. This is troubling indeed. But how can we be sure that your alliance will hold? Trust is hard to come by in these times. Grunther, the dwarven representative, stepped forward. The dwarves of Iron Mountain have pledged their support to Elaria. We stand united against the Dark Legion. Together, we are stronger. Queen Arwen's gaze shifted to Grunther, then back to Lyra and Jason. After a long pause, she nodded. Very well. Eldoria will stand with Elaria and Iron Mountain. We will fight this darkness together. Relief washed over Lyra, and she bowed deeply. Thank you, Queen Arwen. Your support means everything to us. The elves began preparing for war, their skilled archers and powerful mages adding a crucial element to the alliance. As they returned to Elaria, Lyra felt a renewed sense of hope. With the elves, dwarves, and Elarian soldiers united, they had a fighting chance against the Dark Legion. Back in Elaria, the city was bustling with activity. Training sessions were held, strategies were discussed, and alliances were strengthened. The presence of the elves and dwarves boosted the morale of the Elarian soldiers, who were inspired by the unity of their newfound allies. Lyra and Jason stood on the battlements, overlooking the preparations. We have the dwarves and the elves, Lyra said, her voice filled with determination. Now we need to secure the support of the free cities. If we can unite them, we will be unstoppable. Jason nodded, his eyes focused on the horizon. One step at a time, Lyra. We're building something powerful here. With each new ally, we grow stronger. As they watched the sunset over Elaria, Lyra felt a sense of purpose and hope. The path ahead was still fraught with danger, but with Jason by her side and their allies united, she believed they could overcome any obstacle. Together, they would fight to save Avaloria from the darkness that threatened to consume it.